am so happy I have Dr. Ford with me here. So just as I mentioned in my post, she was coming in town because she's driving down south to visit her family. And like I mentioned, she's one of the only few PhDs that I know that's in biotech sales with me.
Yeah.
Yes. And obviously being a woman of color and and us just having similar stories and similar challenges. And so I get so many questions about career transitions and all of that good stuff, which is why I started White Coat, White Collar. But nonetheless, you guys asked a bunch of questions. Thank you so much for asking these questions. And me and Dr. Ford are here to deliver.
Dr. Ford. Me
and Katarina, Dr. Ford. We're here to deliver. So, drum roll. First question.
Is a GRE required for a PhD program? So that is a very good question. And I think the best way to answer this is it's different for every program, unfortunately. For me personally, I did not have to take the GRE. I was able to go through a bridge program from an HBCU to a PWI who were looking to expand their diversity within the PhD program. So I actually did not have to take the GRE. However, I had a extremely high GPA, which helped a lot.
That's good. I actually think that's great.
Because I would have failed it. I would have failed it.
No, like I literally had to take the GRE. I took it twice.
Oh wow.
But and it was so stressful. Like I just taking tests for me is just like, oh my goodness. I took a pre-course before taking it, but it was still stressful and anxiety of it. Yeah. I think that's great that programs like that exist. I didn't know that. I did have to take the GRE before I got into grad school. So
I kind of got lucky.
That's great. I didn't know that. So for some programs, you do have to take the GRE. I went to FAMU. I had to take the GRE. Dr. Ford went to
Auburn University.
But where was the HBCU that you started?
I went to Alabama State University in Montgomery, so they're about 45 minutes apart from each other. So it was like easy for them to recruit from like local areas.
Okay. So the answer to that question is yes for some, no for others.
There you go.
So next question. How long does it take to get your PhD? Why y'all asking that? Why y'all know that's like the forbidden question. But no, I get it. Some people who are asking are still in undergrad or just curious minds. I don't remember who asked this question, but it varies. It varies. So it took me 5 years. And it probably would have taken longer if I didn't get a job offer 6 months before graduating. So it took me 5 years, but I also graduated. I also worked in a lab with people who were there double and triple that amount of time. So that'll be another story for another day. Yeah. But 5 years for me, and it varies.
5 years is pretty typical if you don't have a life outside of your PhD. But no, it takes time. It takes time. You got to publish papers. You got to make sure your research is going in the way you want it to go. You want to defend, you have to write dissertation. So, I mean, it takes time. Yeah. And I think that's okay because you learn who you are.
Yeah, it's a process. And honestly, as I posted these questions and I posted that reel, so many people have reached out. And there are so many mental health programs and resources available now to PhD students, to women, to Black women. There's so much information out. STEM Noir is one. I can't think of the young lady's name I met probably like yesterday, who found me through the reel, but I'm definitely listing her resources. She just launched her website and she focuses on mental health during your PhD program, which I didn't have those resources. And if I knew I had a community while I was bumping heads with my advisor and like just all of the drama and the mental strain that came with obtaining my PhD, I would have absolutely taken hold of those resources.
Listen, I definitely had to do a few therapy sessions during my PhD.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay. So next question. Suggestions for prepping for this transition while still in grad school. That is a great The number one on your list is networking. Number one. That's the most important thing you want to do to prep. For one, you want to know what careers are out there, what opportunities are out there that you would even be interested in. And a lot of times when we are in our PhD programs, we're so focused on getting those papers out. We're so focused in our research. You're not really thinking about the next step unless it's like the traditional next step, which is a postdoc.
Right.
So step one would be networking. Talk to your alumni that are doing different things, even if it's something you may not be totally interested in. Like, I would totally reach out and just ask them questions about how they transition into their role and what they do on a daily basis, and some of the questions you guys have asked me and Dr. Ford. But that would be number one.
No, I think that's really good. Therapy again. And I always say that because with any transition,
yes,
it takes a toll on you. It doesn't matter if it's just grad school, right?
Sure.
You gotta have a good network, like you said. But joining an organization, either at the university or a national conference or national organization, also helps with that networking ability. So
I agree 1,000%. Okay, when did you start the job search? After defending? Before? So my story was unique. I started the job search 3 years into my PhD program, but I started it 3 years.
Try to.
I'm weak. Like, listen, after 3 years, I was just like, oh my God, I cannot be in this lab anymore. But someone asked me a question about transitioning out into doing biotech. So I'll get to that, why I couldn't be in the lab anymore. But I actually started my job search probably at year 3. Like, just, starting like, oh, well, what companies hire for a PhD in pharmacology? Johnson & Johnson. So I'm looking at Johnson & Johnson. But even some of those jobs were R&D jobs. And so it wasn't until my 4th year that I was like, I don't want to do R&D. I don't want to be behind a bench anymore. What else can I do? Mm-hmm. So I started that process before I defended. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. Definitely start before you defend.
Yes.
Try to have a job.
Before. I mean, if you're like me, like, I needed a job to be able to kind of graduate. Like, honestly, I use it as leverage, but that's another story of another day. But yeah.
So can you share your career journey? Also, did you have any confusion in selecting the right career? That's a really good question because my career journey was kind of sporadic at first. So when I first started out, or when I first finished my PhD, I couldn't find a job.
How long were you unemployed?
So I was never unemployed.
Okay.
But this was before I defended, right? So I started looking for jobs about a year before I knew, hey, all right, it's time to go.
Yeah.
But I applied for everything and nothing landed. So at that point, I used my networking skills from a national conference that I go to every year.
Yes.
And I met a wonderful professor who is also African American. And she offered me a postdoc to expand my palette, per se, in research. And so I was really grateful for that. So I did go do a postdoc after I finished defending. And from that postdoc, because of that experience that I gained in liquid chromatography, mass spec, I was able to get a job pretty quickly because it's a field that's very robust and it's always in need. So I was able to kind of start my career in that way. And from there, I decided to go into sales, which is why I'm in sales now, which I absolutely love.
Yay. Yeah. I love sales too. Okay. That's awesome. I didn't know that story.
Girl.
Oh.
It was a long journey.
Yes.
But we're here now.
Yes, we are. But the journey is important. It's important because it reminds you of your hard work. It reminds you of your determination. Because the reason why we're here, why we're doing this, is because being Black women and being Black women that are scientists and then working in corporate America, we had to kick the door down to get in. And so we want to share our story and be transparent about how we got here and what we do, so other scientists can make those same choices too, or use our stories or use our experience as leverage to get to where you want to go.
And as Dr.Rell said, you're gonna try to apply for different things. You might want to be at the bench. You might want to be a project manager. You might want to go into sales. You know, you might want to change your entire career after you finish your PhD.
Yes.
So was there confusion in the selection process? Yes. But I think I followed my heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately what you should do.
Yes.
But also follow the pockets.
For sure. And so that's a perfect segue to the next question. I'm interested in why you chose biotech as a career with your PhD outside of financial considerations. And so I think what Dr. Ford just mentioned, you have to follow your heart and follow your passions. Like I mentioned, by year 3 of my PhD program, I dreaded being in the lab. I dreaded picking up my pipette. I dreaded putting on my white coat, my lab coat. I dreaded everything about it. And I was just ready to do something else. And I think what helped me realize I was ready to do something else is because while I was in grad school at FAMU, I actually worked as a research associate at Florida State, where I went into the communities and I helped teach and prep African American men for doctor visitations to get their prostate checked.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that? I published 2 papers from the study, but I loved it. I love going out in the community. I love gathering everyone together. I loved all of the questions that the men had. And it was fun. And I was using my knowledge. I was using my science background, but I was teaching and I was educating and I was empowering. And that's when I was just like, when I walked in the lab, I didn't feel like I was empowering my cells. I mean, I was, don't get me wrong. And those who do continue to do research, my job, I support researchers who.
And we love you.
And yes, and I love you. Like I love y'all. I love y'all.
We couldn't do what we do if they didn't do what they do.
Exactly. Like, you guys are the atom. Like, you are the step 1. You are the building block. The first amino acid.
Right.
That's y'all. So
they're what matters.
Yes. Exactly. And so that's, for me though, my passion was in, I'm an extrovert. You know, some people get their energy from being secluded and going away. Like, I literally get my energy from talking and communicating. Like, we're shooting this video at it's after 1 a.m. If I had to go and pull out a paper and read a paper right now at 1 a.m., I'll fall asleep. But I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm ready to share. I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to empower. And so that's, for me, why I chose a career in biotech, because that was the opportunities that allowed me to be myself. And they embraced my personality. They embraced who I am. And that's what ultimately led me to sales, because people just they like nice, outgoing people. It's close the deals that way. So that's why.
That's true.
Yes.
I'm more of an introvert, but I get the burst of energy when I'm talking to other clients.
Yeah.
So. Okay, next question. What do you do? What does an average workday look like for you? All right, so what do I do? So I work for a biotech company, and we sell liquid chromatography mass spec systems. And
you want to give us a little brief synopsis of what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So HPLCs or UPLCs, basically these instruments are used to break down the mass range or the analytes that are in a particular compound. So let's say
I see you looking.
I was like, I'm trying to figure out
lifesaver.
Yeah, give me
okay.
I'm like, I need another. So this lifesaver, right? It has all types of high fructose corn syrup. No, and then different. It probably does
corn syrup, but not high fructose.
Okay. Yep. So the ingredients list that it's on the back, right? So if I wanted to process this and run it through an HPLC or a UPLC, I can find out each compound that's present in this lifesaver. So it's used in a lot of quality control, especially forensic science, because you're looking at DNA and different things like that, and you can find out who that baby daddy is. So, but you use HPLC in anything. So if I was just like outside looking at soil and I didn't know it came from the United States, could have came from South Africa, we can trace all that stuff back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sell HPLCs, UPLCs, as well as mass specs.
Nice.
What does an average day look like for you? Woo! So,
child. Listen, we put out fires.
Listen,
Okay.
can I eat this one?
Yes, it's the nasty one. That's the you like the reds? Girl, that's all that's left. Y'all want some? I don't eat the reds. Please take that. It tastes like cough syrup.
So average day, I mean, it honestly differs, but every morning when I wake up, I start with reading emails. I mean, of course, coffee, and then emails, because you might have like 20 that piled up overnight.
Ooh. That's a light day.
Girl, that is a light day.
Yeah.
And let you not have taken off a little bit earlier the day before, okay? But it helps you structure what your day looks like. It helps you prioritize what's more important and what's least important. How can I go from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and get everything that I need to accomplish done? So I emails and then plan out my day. If I have a customer meeting, I plan the night before. Because you have to make sure that you're dressed super professional. You have to pick the restaurant or make sure you know where the lab is. Always be on time. But I'm talking to other scientists all day long, whether that be in person or virtual. So the good thing is I get to use a lot of my skills from my Ph.D. as well as my postdoc, because I'm talking to a lot of people in biopharm, right? They're working on vaccines. They're using messenger RNA. They're using DNA. And I focused a lot on that during those periods of my time. So even though I don't physically have to pick up a pipette, I still have to keep up to date with the latest science trends.
Literature.
I still have to read journal articles. And then also I still have to study my clients before I see my clients. You need to know who you're meeting with, right?
Yes.
So that's a pretty average day. And sometimes it doesn't end at 5, but when you love what you do, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No, I love that. And I love that you touched on being in biotech, that you still have to read articles. You still have to stay up to date with the scientific literature. You're still talking to scientists. So making sure that you're prepared to go into some of those meetings with the experts. That's essentially who we meet with, who we communicate with on the daily basis in our respective companies, are the key opinion leaders for that particular niche that they're in. And I will just add to the transferable skills that you mentioned. Being a PhD, you have to have the ability to critical think, the ability to solve problems, oral communication skills, the ability to make decisions, the ability to analyze data. So all of the skills that you learn in the lab, in a wet lab, are still the same skills that you need. You just use them differently.
You're just not physically doing them in the laboratory. But who's to say a customer might call us and say, hey, I need help doing X, Y, and Z. We gotta go put the white coat back on, right?
That's true. And I've done that a few times. And you get in there and they may want you to look at their cells to make sure that an experiment they did is ready and right to proceed to the next step. And then I have gloves on and I'm looking under a microscope, making sure that their cells are confluent or they're ready for the next phase of their experiment that may require one of my products. So, yes. What is next? Okay, how hard is it to get into biotech? I'm sure you all are the youngest. What challenges do you face because of that? Okay.
They know I got rejected a million times over.
Me too.
But it's okay.
It's so funny though, right? Because getting into biotech was so difficult for me, and I received so many rejection letters that I had to move to New York City to start a postdoc. There wasn't even really well, I'm not gonna say it wasn't a job. It was a job, but I did an industry postdoc that was initially designed for pharmacists, but they switched it up and they started allowing PhDs into the program, and that's how I was able to get into biotech. Because all of our clients we worked with, it was a marketing company. All of our brands were they were pharmaceutical companies. So that was my first experience into industry, I guess you can say. And it was hard. There was a point in my PhD program where I thought that I wasn't going to get a job. I thought that I was going to be unemployed, or I thought I was going to have to settle for a laboratory postdoc position that I did not want. And yeah, it was tough. It was tough. Like I still have all of the rejection emails.
Oh no, I deleted them every
you
time
deleted
one came in.
Really?
Like, nope.
I have them.
I need that negativity in my life.
I feel you, sis. I feel you. I have them, and it was hard, and I think that's why we're here, and that's why we're answering these questions, because I didn't have access to someone like me. Don't get me wrong, the alumni at FAMU, they're the reasons why I'm where I'm at today. But this one-on-one, the answering the questions, just keeping it totally real, even to the point of where I've started the business to help prepare students and professionals to make the transition, to get through those hurdles, to have mentors assigned for what you really want to do, or to help you figure out what it is you want to do. Because sometimes, who knows? I didn't know. If you would have asked me in 2018, when I first accepted my position in New York, that I would be in biotech sales, I would have laughed.
Me too.
So that's a long-winded answer. My apologies. And do you want to add something to that before we get to the other half of the question or statement?
How hard is it? I mean, it is pretty difficult to get into biotech, but like you said, like knowing the right people, having a good, strong network is really key. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you just have to start off entry level. Mm-hmm. I had to start off at the bottom with a PhD and a postdoc. Yes. But we'll get into a little bit more of that as we progress into the video.
Yes. And so they also made a statement after that question, just saying we're the youngest. What are the challenges faced because of that? I think that the challenges I face are more internal, honestly. Yeah. Sometimes I know that I am the youngest, and not just age-wise. I know that I'm the youngest in this space compared to some of my colleagues and some of my mentors and some of the people that I work with. And so it's like, I think it's more of overcoming my own insecurities and overcoming the challenges that I may tell myself that are not really challenges, just because I am the newbie all in and throughout. And so I think that's really the biggest challenges I face.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, it's something that we bring from our PhD, right? It's imposter syndrome. Like, yes. We didn't
therapy.
It's like when you're a freshman in high school, right? Yeah. You were just the stuff in middle school at 8th grade, but now you're at the bottom of the totem pole at 9th grade. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of, you feel that way at your career. Like, oh, it's just my first year. I don't know anything. Yeah. Don't shrink yourself.
No, don't.
Don't do it.
Don't. And, one other thing, too, about how hard is it to get into biotech. And, again, because of my business, like, I'm always reading articles. Like, this is something I'm passionate about. And so I pulled a research article from the Pew Research Center.
Look at you pulling research articles.
I'll stay up reading stuff like this, too, though. I would. But, so they actually published a paper. And in the article, it mentions that only half of those with college training in the STEM field are currently employed in a STEM job. The article continues to explain that the reasons can vary from finding their skills and training useful in a non-STEM occupation and the barriers to entry into STEM jobs, in addition to obtaining a bachelor's degree in a STEM field. So there are just so many hurdles. First of all, half of people with a STEM background are actually employed in a STEM job. And that's because of the barriers that we face, that there's literally data that proves this. So,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
With a PhD, like I said, I started off entry level.
Yes.
So how hard does someone have to work with a bachelor's degree?
Exactly.
It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
But we're knocking down doors so that you don't have to.
Exactly.
All right. Next question. Salary trajectory for your role and time it takes for each promotion. Okay. I'm going to start with the end of that question, actually, because like I said, I did start off at a very entry level position. So I wasn't making a lot of money, but it was way more than I was making in my PhD, right? But not what I thought I deserve at that level. However, I had to humble myself and learn the business. And I was grateful for that. So honestly, I came in and I worked my butt off the first year. Like, I wanted everyone to know my name.
Yes.
So I did get promoted after 11 months of starting out in the entry level position to a pretty mid-senior level position. And that was a huge
That's awesome.
pay raise within that
seriously.
within that 11 months. So
seriously,
extremely proud of that. But it's okay to take a lower level job and work yourself up. I had to move across the country just like you had to move across the country to take that lower level job. I had to sacrifice a lot.
Where you moved to where?
I moved to Boston.
Woo.
Yeah. In the middle of a pandemic.
Woo.
But it gave me time to grind.
Yeah.
So I don't regret it.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know you lived in Boston.
Girl. I'm from Alabama, y'all.
She's a Southern girl like me.
What is snow? Okay.
Alabama, Louisiana.
Yeah. Hey, Beyonce.
Right.
But salary trajectory in biotech, I would say if you're starting out entry level, don't expect 100,000. I'm sorry. Entry level, let's just be a little bit, like I said, you have to humble yourself. I would say expect.
And that's in sales.
This is in sales.
Because some pharma, you can expect way more than that. And it depends on your title. If you're an MSL, if you come in, it just depends.
It depends.
But that's another story for another day. We'll get into that too.
We will.
But this is from the sales aspect and biotech.
Right. So
and just to highlight too, there are different structures. So we are actually field sales.
That's true.
There's inside sales roles, which is where Dr. Ford started off at inside sales.
And you're not really selling in that role. Even though they say you're a salesperson, you're kind of like prospecting. You're looking for sales. You're looking for leads for the field. Yeah. And now we are both in the field. And then we have inside people that send us leads, which is really convenient. But like I said, like in that position, you're probably starting out 60 to 70. And as you progress in your career, and depending on how much commission you make, because in sales, you have a base.
Yep.
And then you have a commission structure.
Yep.
So honestly, you determine how much you want to
determine
make.
how much money you make. It's that simple.
Let's say you have a really good year and you bring home $250K.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes. And see, this girl, listen, I'm gonna just toot your horn for you a little bit. Her sales target was $3 million.
3.8.
She almost tripled that. Yeah. She brought in over $8 million. So she's buying my next electric car. When that commission check come around.
Look, I still gotta get you a housewarming gift. But yeah, I had a point to prove.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll get to the
I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you. Look at this new business, bitch. But you determine how much you make in sales.
Yeah.
Nobody can stop you but you. Let's say you have some personal stuff going on in your life. Okay, you made goal last year. You might not make goal this year. And
that's just hitting your target.
Right.
Your sales
targets. So it's totally up to you. It depends on how much of a hustler you are, to be honest.
Yes. Awesome. So someone asks, do companies pay for further education, such as an MBA? The answer is yes, with contingencies. So, my company, and I think Dr. Ford's company may be very similar, they offer reimbursement tuition. So, you would have to pay your tuition. Now, however you decide to do that, if you don't have the funds, you decide to take out a loan, however you want, and your company will reimburse you. I think it may be at the end of the semester. I don't know. Don't quote me. That's not an interest of mine. But I do know that companies do offer tuition reimbursement. And every company is different. Their structure may be different. But what most companies do, they will lock you in. So if they reimburse you with tuition, you have to work for the company 2 years after obtaining your degree, such as an MBA. So it's not like you get your degree and then you hop over to another company. You have to make a commitment to work for that company. And if you do, you sign a contract. And if you break that contract or you leave, 9 times out of 10, you have to pay that money back. So do companies pay for further education? Yes. but.
Right. There's a but.
but. And so you determine if that but works for you. You know?
Yeah. I mean, but I've been thinking about an MBA, but I'm also like, I'm tired of school. But in sales, like MBA, if you want to climb the corporate ladder, I would say if your job does offer reimbursement, take the opportunity. You can do it online.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you get the MBA from as long as it's on your resume.
Yeah, for sure.
Or do a dual Ph.D. MBA program.
Yeah, there's a few universities that offer that. I may list them there somewhere, or maybe here. I don't know. But yeah, I may list them.
All right. So would you recommend this field for people of color? And what challenges have you faced as a female and person of color in this industry? Yes, to all of that. But I want to recommend this field to people of color because there's not a lot of us, to be honest with you. I am one of the first African-American women in field sales at my company. I am very honored that they chose me.
breaking walls.
But I'm also excited to open the doors for other women of color.
Yes.
People of color, you know, in general. Men, women, like... don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people of color that are in the field fixing the systems or working in manufacturing and distribution. But as a field sales rep, you are the face.
Yeah, you're the face of the company.
You're representing the company. So yes, I definitely want people to look into sales because I think a lot of us don't realize that this is an avenue that you can take.
Yeah, for sure.
And then what challenges have you faced as a female and a person of color in this industry? I think internally, I thought there were going to be a ton of issues, but actually my customers accept me for who I am. They love that I know the science. I come with my facts. And if I don't know something, I say I don't know. Never, I think your integrity speaks more versus your color of your skin when it comes to someone purchasing something that expensive from you.
Yeah. Our equipment
it's not cheap.
It's like, it's really at all. Yeah.
But no, I have not had any issues as far as like with customers or any of my colleagues. My colleagues have like opened their arms to like me teaching me how to do sales. I never knew how to sell anything. So they taught me the game. They showed me the ropes. They opened their homes to me. So I actually think this was a really good look for the company and also advancing us into the future.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I agree with you. And we are, at the end of the day, representation matters. So if you didn't think that you could be a scientist and be in sales at some of the world's largest biotech companies, where we work for, you can do it.
Okay.
Even if you're the first, you can do it. You can do it, and that's why we're here, because our voices matter, our representation matters. So yeah.
And there's opportunity,
so much.
In every role that's posted on a website, they have to at least interview one person of color. And hopefully more, right? But I think it's great that is a law. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it gives us more opportunity.
For sure.
So someone said, hey, I love this. I hope you do one for people that are early in biotech and wanting a mid-senior role. So I think we briefly touched on that because, like I said, I kind of started off in the entry-level role of biotech, and then I kind of moved to a mid-senior level role. But do you have anything on the podcast that might be coming up? Explain a little bit more about that.
Yes. So my take on that, people that are early on in biotech and they want a mid-senior role, I think your story is really the perfect example. As we mentioned, the different tiers of sales, there's inside sales and there's field sales. So
and you have global.
And you have global sales. And so obviously, most times if you're coming in entry level, you would come in as an inside sales. I started my sales job as a field sales, but I had industry experience already. I had client interacting experience, because as we mentioned, when you're in sales, you're the face of the company, you're the face of that product line. And so making sure that you have experience with KOLs or HCPs, which are just key opinion leaders or healthcare professionals, or providers, like they want to make sure that you're comfortable, you're confident, and you close the deal and don't not close the deal. Like that's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. And so I think people that are wanting a mid-senior role, I think the thing is to kind of self-reflect, right? What experience do you have? What are the qualifications for this role? Do they align? If there is something you're missing, what are you missing? How do you obtain it? Do you need to obtain that before you can take the job, before you can take the role?
Ask your manager for feedback.
Yes, and definitely, even in the interview process, every interview, every rejection that I've gotten, like I ask why, like why didn't it work out, or why didn't you choose me?
It's hard to hear, but
yeah,
you can't grow if you don't know where to go.
If you don't know, right, exactly. You can't grow if you don't know where to go. Hey, I feel like we gotta add a meme. You can't grow if you don't know where to go. You can't grow if you don't know where to go. but yeah.
So. No, and when you're in entry level of biotech, it gives you the time to know who those key leaders are. Yes. Right? You might not be able to talk to them right now because they don't know who you are, but you know who they are. You study what they do.
Yep.
You need to figure out which role you want within your company.
Yep.
Or within the biotech industry.
Yes.
Because some people start off entry level as a field service engineer, or they start off as a technical support specialist, which means you're in the field with hands-on experience with systems, fixing them. And then you could move into a sales role because one, you know your customers at that point, right? And your customers have given managers feedback about your work.
Yes.
Which will make it a little bit easier to move into that role.
For sure. And so the final question, and I know who asked this question, and I appreciate you, Doc, for asking this question. But the question is, how can we sign up for career services with Dr.Rell? So great question. So let me go back quickly and briefly and just tell you about White Coat, White Collar. So I created White Coat, White Collar because I wanted to help demystify the career landscape for students, for graduates, for professionals. And I wanted to do that by educating. I wanted to do that by conversations. I wanted to do that by transparency. I wanted to do that by empowerment and training and helping those giving people the skills and the resources that they need to feel equipped to get the careers and the jobs that they want. And so if you listen to this and it was helpful, that's awesome. I'm so glad we were able to help. We do have the podcast that's launching where I've interviewed over 22 people, medical doctors, pharmacists, STEM majors, teachers that have transitioned over into alternative fields, like just so many amazing people in STEM and healthcare that have used their experiences, their rejections, their defeats, all of their experiences to get to a place where they're proud of. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm providing this information. So, long story short, you can find me at whitecoatwhitecollar.com. Depending on when you listen to this, the preview site is up right now. So if you go to whitecoatwhitecollar.com, you scroll down to the bottom of the page and you'll see Take Me to the Preview Site. Click on Take Me to the Preview Site and you can click and see my services, or you can click and contact me and book a chance to speak with me and, you know, book my services. And you would go through the process of being paired with a mentor and having your resume, your LinkedIn, and just giving you the works and everything you need to feel empowered to get the job that you want. So
the job that you deserve.
The job that you deserve.
Right.
Yes, I like that. So thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for spending 30 plus minutes with me and Dr. Ford. We dig it. We here, and we love y'all, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. To watch the full video, go to White Coat White Collar YouTube, link in bio. Subscribe, like, and comment. Follow-up questions for the host are welcome and can be left in the YouTube comments. The official White Coat White Collar podcast will launch this spring. Go to whitecoatwhitecollar.com to sign up for updates and never miss a beat on events, resources, and more. Also follow our IG at White Coat White Collar for exclusive content. Cheers.